Alright, so I just crafted Tyrantus and a second giant Anaconda because I didn't manage to get it from my pack openings. Um, and the reason for why I chose to do creature styled uh, legendaries is because my main NA side was more um, fruitful with combining the quest ones together. I managed to obtain good ones or relatively good ones from the pack openings on that side. On this side, I only got the Warlock one, which is good as well. I mean, but then I have to spend another bunch just to get the other legendary, which I did craft on the NA side. But in this one, I really like my NA version of this Temple Druid that I uh, took note of, and I wanted to try Tyrantus instead on this side. So I think I'm facing a basic priest. But what I was getting to is because I like control decks and Faceless used to be one of the control um, cards until people loved OTK with it. Um, that it went towards the OTKs more so than control, even though one of the oldest tricks in the book is faceless BGH, but because BGH got nerfed up to 5 cost from 3 cost, that BGH is, or at least was, a dead card. But even before that, many people who played against people who love questing adventurer, hiding behind mirror images, uh, or even the Venture Co. Long before time, Big Game Hunter or BGH was, one of the best counters against Venture Co. It was three mana versus five. It was just like a freebie basically if you have it in hand. But in any case, anything goes with if you have it in hand. But then of course back then also you don't really have a lot of cards for the BGH to target except Ragnaros. So I mean there were other uses for BGH, and now there's up and down, and BGX is a good counter against Tyrantus, for example. So if I'm against a priest that somehow thought stole my Tyrantus, I at least have a counter for my own deck. Countering my own deck is, I mean, for me personally, when I do deck archetypes, I tend to have too many or one too many situational cards. And I do understand that that makes my deck weaker. However, in the mindset of deck making, it's always, or at least aside from thinking about win rates and all that, or just certain matchups, I think one of the game developing component is to uh, try to counter your own deck as well, but not too much. It's almost like saying, for example, Sacrificial Pack and Jiraxis in your own deck. It is very risky in that aspect, or in that effect, versus this time having BGH and Tyrantus. I think it's a validated option, um, unlike Sacrificial Pack and Jiraxis in the same deck. However, there are times where you want Sacrificial Pack to heal you for 5. If you can, um, it is a heal after all, but it is risky if your opponent gets it from, Shifting Shade or Thought Steal, something like that. Um, so I am, uh, battling against a basic priest, and now in terms of how basic is basic for my opponent, Uh, I'm hoping they doesn't have Cabal Shadow Priest, and this is what I'm worried about with my Mire Keeper. But apparently he presents that he doesn't have it. So I feel a bit better, in the sense that I can kind of tell because he didn't mouse over. But I think I'm gonna play security here, maybe. Yeah, I mean I just don't want to get my 2/2 stolen from Cabal Shadow Priest, which I remember back in one cute game where this guy was mousing over my shielded mini bot since turn 2, and he moused over it for like 5 to 10 seconds, and I was like, well, it looks like one of your cards in your hand is heavy, and probably on the left side is a Cabal Shadow Priest. And that's just reading from how I would read my own deck and my own hand if I were having my opponent's hand. That's how I read it. And I was right. On turn 6 immediately my shielded mini bot, which when untouched got stolen. I mean, it's pretty obvious that, it happened. And of course, why would I sacrifice um the Divine Shield if I could keep it, right? Especially against Holy Nova. You don't really want to play into that Holy Nova on the turn before that, so you want to keep the Divine Shield in. However, the thing is, I just mentioned that he has shielded Cabal Shadow Priest for it, so I should have, you know, tried my best to take off the Divine Shield so that it uh, lessens the risk of being taken advantage of. However, it wasn't the case. Well, I mean, calling opponent cards is one of my favorite things to do, which made Hearthstone a little bit annoying for me. Um, but we will see how this goes. It seems like this priest is a basic priest after all. So, I mean, my deck is definitely way better than his in terms of card value. But then again, a basic priest is supposed to uh, work pretty well for any basic deck. If you draw in terms of tempo, you can um, win. I'm not necessarily a priest, but like a mage. If you draw correctly as a basic mage, you potentially have a chance to wreck your opponent pretty hard. Just like back when the actual tempo mage came out. Um, if you draw all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and things like that, which is the same thing as a basic mage does, you can speed it up to where you would win. And of course, this turn has a bit of a calculation error. I was trying to work around how I would kill all three. Um, I mean, I probably had a chance to do it, I just messed it up, or maybe I thought I could take out all three. But in any case, I wanted some board presence. And since he revealed, or at least didn't really show that he has any Cabal Shadow Priest or drawn it, that I think I can drop this instead of spending the Starfall. And it was a good decision because um it's one less um Shadow Word Pain against the Shell Shifters that I'm about to play. Um and as well as Keeper of the Grove. Because I am going to play Keeper of the Grove. Not that Keeper of the Grove is any more a 2/4, but getting rid of Shadow Word Pains using Corrupted Seer is one of the highlights, I would say, because it's one of my weaker cards, and it's an optionally weak card, but I remember I have different highlights where the Corrupted Seer is so good, uh, literally so good. Well, I have my Faceless drawn, I have my BGH drawn, and Tyrantus has just like a water elemental, um, being we spell stoppered, like it can't target. So it's basically like a big, big, big fairy dragon. Um, so I believe that I can win this now for sure. Um, cause there's no way you can get this. I can't think of it other than an MC tech if I play into 4 creatures. So that's the other thing I have to worry about in terms of using this deck is uh, bearing in mind that uh, there's always a possibility of an MC tech again. From any basic decks, MC tech is really crazy important. And here I will show the Faceless BGH. That's my favorite, even though this time I'm facelessing my own creature because my own creature is insanely strong. And I did that in the right order, taking down everything when the Stormwind champion's buff no longer helps the Shattered Sun Cleric. So I just won. And yeah, so see, Faceless is a good control deck, and I mean, I'm just deciding what to do, but he knows that I have taken him out. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I feel like this is showing the power of Faceless again, especially when Ungoro showed us Tyrantus. Have a good day.